Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. You can find us on the web at hsstaffing.com. I hope you'll consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and professional writing needs. I am delighted to be joined today by Bob Gonzalez. We're going to be discussing the oceans and their inhabitants. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits, as well as high net worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at info@pk-cpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. Bob, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Please take a moment and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Well, my name is Bob Gonzalez. I'm an author of the newly released book, A Flicker in the Water. I grew up in Pennsylvania, which is not too far from your neck of the woods there in New Jersey. I moved to Florida in my 20s, and I opened up a small business down here, and I started to fish a lot. And after about 15 years of fishing, mostly in the Gulf of Mexico, I wrote a book about my experiences that I hope readers will enjoy.
It's funny, when I first read your bio and the name of the book, I thought it was a flipper in the water, going back to the old show.
Yeah.
And I thought it was about dolphins.
Yeah.
So what's the book about?
Well, it's mostly nonfiction, sea adventure stories. Most of them take place in the Gulf of Mexico. I talk about some of the fish that we caught out there. I talk about some of our experiences that don't have anything to do with fish, just about the ocean in general. And there's a lot of interesting facts that I learned in the process of writing this book that even after all those years out at sea that I didn't know, that I think readers will find really interesting.
So when you say oceans, you also mean seas and lakes and rivers.
Yeah, I talk about freshwater also. When I wrote the book, I included a chapter in there about the Sea of Galilee, which I didn't know was actually a freshwater lake.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It happens
yeah,
to be Israel's primary source of fresh water.
yeah, yeah. The word sea threw me off all these years. I thought it was salt water.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what language. It's
Yeah.
Sea of Galilee or Lake Kinneret.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a violin, and Kinneret comes from Kinnor, and Kinnor is a violin. So
Okay.
it's a matter of language.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us about oceans. I'm going to ask a stupid question. Why are the oceans important?
Well, most of the life on our planet comes from the oceans. In fact, in the Old Testament, it said in the book of Genesis that God created the fish in the sea before he created the land animals and man even.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So the oceans have had importance throughout mankind's history right from the very beginning and still continue to this day.
What do we get? What do the oceans do for us? And when I say oceans, I mean all bodies of water. What do the oceans do for us besides providing us with food?
Okay. I think they have a lot of healing properties. A lot of the salt in the ocean and a lot of the calmness of the sea. I think it provides physical as well as an emotional healing and spiritual healing for people that don't have anything to do with food, but they nourish you in other ways.
I can remember reading books, what were they called? Grand tours that people would take in the 19th century, maybe even into the 20th century. and doctors would prescribe a sea voyage as good medicine for whatever it was that was ailing their patient. Do you believe that there are medicinal properties in the oceans?
Yeah, I don't believe there's any doubt about it. Just the salt content alone is medicinal. When you breathe in that salt air, it's very cleansing. It can clean your sinuses and maybe your arteries and a few other things.
But ironically, you can't drink it.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that something? Yeah.
Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink.
Yeah.
You said something that kind of interests me. You said there's a spiritual component. Delve deeper into that.
Well, when you're out on the ocean, it's just you, the vessel that you're on, and the sky above, and that's it. And there's something very soul satisfying, soul nurturing about that lets you get in touch with yourself, and I think gets you closer to the Creator. And I feel like a spiritual connection to nature and to whatever is above us, to God. When you're out on the ocean, it's His creation, it's His first creation, and I think it has a very soothing, calming effect on us.
There are, I want to word this correctly. I always think back to Teddy Roosevelt. He was a great conservationist, and he was a big game hunter.
Yeah.
You're kind of the same. You're a deep sea fisherman. And one of the things that I found interesting, I don't remember if I read it, it was in a movie or whatever. Fishing is sort of fair. It's you catch you hook the fish, and then it's you against the fish. One of you is going to win, one of you is going to lose.
Yeah.
And it could very well be that you win, you get the fish into your boat, and then you let the fish go. Is that the difference between fishing and hunting?
It could be. There's not too much catch and release in hunting.
No, it's not.
In fishing there is, and it's helped sustain the resource. I just got something handed to me though, back to our last, that you might find interesting. It says that doctors used to prescribe ocean baths to heal some ailments.
Yeah. I forget, but there was a place that FDR would go to for the waters, the springs, and he thought that it would help him with his polio and paralysis. So yeah, it goes back a long way.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like catch and release. I like to eat what I catch. I don't like to catch them just for to keep them, and I like to if I'm not going to eat them, I like to throw them back.
That's, I guess, the way it should be.
Yeah.
But if you go after big fish, it's kind of hard to release them. If you've got this huge swordfish that you've caught, and you spent hours trying to reel them in, you can't. I don't know if you can eat them.
Swordfish? Yeah, oh yeah, swordfish are great.
I guess you can. But you're not going to release it.
Not a swordfish. You can always take the swordfish to the fish market where they make the steaks.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And what about the fisherman's tales? The that a 20-pound fish, by the time they get to the dock, it's become a 40-pound fish.
Yeah.
And by the time they get home, it's a 60-pound fish.
Yeah. There's not a fisherman in the world who hasn't told tales, that's for sure. Myself probably included, although I like to keep it real.
What is the satisfaction you get out of fishing?
There's an adrenaline rush that's for me, it's hard to get anywhere else. Once when that fish bites that line, it's mano a mano, and all the work that you put into trying to catch your fish. It's I don't know. I think there's something innate in man that hunting and fishing provides you with wanting to catch and eat your game and replenish it for future use.
It would seem to be good exercise as well,
Oh yeah.
because I've never gone fishing.
Hmm.
I can imagine the tension on the line
Hmm.
and the strength you have to have in keeping the fish on the line, and
Hmm.
knowing when to reel the fish in and when to let the fish run, so to speak.
Hmm. There's a skill involved, and different kind of fish fight differently. Some fish will pull line, other ones will swim towards you, other ones will go straight down. Some of them actually jump in the air too. So you
Yeah.
use different techniques for different fish. Thankfully, we have reels though, because if it was just your strength against the fish, believe me, you wouldn't win. Yeah, so sometimes you have to battle the fish. Actually, a real big fish can several hours sometimes to really haul them in. Those fish, it's amazing how strong they are. Even a 20 or 30 pound fish can pull like you think you had a horse on the line.
And is it legal to use explosives in fishing?
Not that I know of. I've never done that. I don't even think I've heard of anybody that's done that. We
I've
use
only
just
seen it in movies.
in movies. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
throwing a stick of
No,
dynamite into the lake, and all of a sudden the fish come up.
maybe they're attracted to the noise that they make. I
No,
know
they
that.
come up because they're dead.
Oh, because they're dead. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, no, I've never heard that. No, no, we're hook, line, and bait.
There are radars that
Mm-hmm.
you can use to find fish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had radars on board. In fact, one of our best catches was was found on a spot by accident with the radar. The radar was showing there was a little bit of climb a hill underneath on the bottom of the surface of the ocean, about 200, 300 feet deep, and it showed a little incline there. And we thought, you know what? Let's try this spot. So we dropped down our line and we caught a 42-pound red snapper, and that was only 4 pounds shy of the Florida state record, and that was found by accident because of the
Yeah,
sonar.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk business.
Hmm.
You said that you had started a business. Is it a fishing business?
No, it's a pretzel business. I make hand rolled soft pretzels.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
no connection. So
No,
fishing for you is relaxation.
relaxation. Yeah, I did name the boat the Twister though, which is named after the pretzel twister.
Okay.
Yeah.
And uh, why did you, how'd you come about with pretzels?
Well, I'm from Pennsylvania, and at the time I was there, that hand rolled soft pretzel concept was just beginning to develop.
Mhm.
And I thought, I wanted to go to Florida, and it was new down here. They hadn't had anything like that down here, so I got a pretzel twister franchise from a guy who's also from Pennsylvania, from Valley Forge, and he started the pretzel twister franchise. So I met with him down here, and we opened a store, and that was back in the early '90s, and we're still going today.
There you go. And how's the book doing?
Good. I got a great endorsement for the book. I don't know if you noticed, but Mariel Hemingway wrote the forward for it, and yeah, you talked before
That's
about the
the
battle,
granddaughter?
the granddaughter of Ernest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was from Cuba, where Ernest wrote The Old Man and the Sea at the
Uh-huh.
same time when he wrote it. So it was just a natural fit, and she really liked the book, and she said it spoke to her with a deep sense of appreciation, and that meant a lot to me.
The Old Man and the Sea was one of my favorite books.
Hmm.
And I was working in a nursing home we had a newsletter that I would put out, and I would make it. It was supposed to be the HR newsletter, but I took it away from them, and there would be a blurb about HR, and the rest would all be stuff of staff and things that were going on and nonsense. So I wanted to do one for April Fools.
Mm-hmm.
And on the top of it, I wrote, everything on this side of the sheet is fake. Because this is going to elderly people, and I didn't want there to be any misunderstandings. So I go to our CEO and I said, I want to take a picture of you holding this sign. And the only thing on it was a C,
Mm-hmm.
the letter C. And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that you are resigning and you're going on Broadway to star in The Old Man and the Sea. And he said, no, he wouldn't do it. So I went to the administrator of the nursing home and he agreed to do it. And when it came out a couple hours later, he said to me, Bruce, you can never do this again. I go, why? What happened? He said, my phone doesn't stop ringing. People are saying how sorry they are that I'm leaving and going on Broadway. So
that's a great story.
tell.
Yeah.
But that was one where, if you think about the movie, I don't know if you saw the movie with Spencer Tracy.
Yeah.
The fish is tied to the side of the boat, and by the time he returns to port, the fish is half eaten.
Yeah.
Not by him, but by other
by sharks.
fish, by sharks.
Yeah.
And they're able to judge that he was being honest about the weight of the fish because they had the skeleton. The skeleton was still intact.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the notion of the size and weight of the fish. So that was something, if you will, I learned from Hemingway.
Mm-hmm.
What will people learn from you reading your book?
Well, they'll learn a few things about how the currents work in the Gulf of Mexico, for example. The Gulf of Mexico has a loop current, and this loop current, which I knew there was a loop current, but I didn't know the vastness of it until I wrote the book. It's actually about 150 miles wide, and it's one of the fastest moving currents in the world. It moves at like 6 miles an hour and continuously flows north into the Gulf from the Caribbean. And then it does what it called a loop, and it always loops around between Cuba and Key West, and then it connects with the Gulf Stream, which I also didn't know. So it replenishes and cleans out the Gulf of Mexico. You remember when we had the that Deepwater Horizon oil spill?
The oil spill.
Yeah, that loop current helped flush a lot of that oil, and disperse it around. So it's not even an issue today. It didn't get to stagnate there in the Gulf, and that was nature's way of cleansing itself. That was one of the things I learned. I also learned, which I didn't know this either, the Mediterranean Sea has one entrance between Morocco and Spain, and it's only 9 miles wide, and that's it. That's the only way in and out of there. I just don't know how fish can get in and out of there. It's only 9 miles.
Well, that's why Gibraltar is such an important military base.
Yeah.
And the British will never give it up.
Yeah.
Because they can control the entrance and exits to the Mediterranean.
And one thing I wanted to do that hopefully the reader will come away with is I wanted to make them feel like they were out on the Gulf. Even if they've never been fishing before, I wanted to make them feel the experience, and I hope to do that in the book.
Besides the currents, what do you think is the most important takeaway from your book?
Well, what the oceans mean to us, and the fish inside the ocean, how they sustain life and give us life, and the importance of what they do for us. Like we said, emotionally, spiritually, the healing properties, physically. The oceans can't be discounted as a healing mechanism.
The oceans clean themselves. You gave a great example
Mhm.
with the Gulf Stream and the loop. Do they do anything for the atmosphere?
I think well, the rain and the evaporation, I think, helps to clean the atmosphere. Some of the salt content and other minerals that are in the water, they evaporate up into the air, and I think it helps clean the air that way. At least that's one thing I know of. I'm sure there's more.
Well, I have one final question for you.
Mhm.
And as I ask it, I will put up your contact information.
Mhm.
Bear with me 1 second. Is there anything that I did not ask you that you wish I had asked you? And if I had asked you, what would you have said?
Well, today is Columbus Day, so there is a chapter in there about Christopher Columbus and his voyages, and a few things I learned about that I didn't know before. Maybe readers can learn a little bit about that and how he came to the Americas, where he landed first. He thought he was actually landing in Asia, but no, it was. And he actually almost turned back to Spain because they were so distraught they weren't seeing any land. They almost gave up. But he actually landed in the Bahamas in a little island called San Salvador, and I'll let the readers take it from there.
Or was it the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Well, Bob, thank you very much. This has been interesting. It's the first time I have had a guest talk about this subject, not to mention pretzels. And I'm delighted you were able to come on.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. I'm Bruce Hurwitz. Thank you for watching. And as always, please stay focused on success.